When I was 19, I thought I had life all figured out. College had just begun, my circle of friends felt unbreakable, and the world ahead looked like a blank canvas waiting for me to paint my future. Among my closest friends was Emily Carter. We had been inseparable since middle school, sharing secrets, laughter, heartbreaks, and dreams. Her family had practically become my second home over the years. I'd spent countless weekends at her place, staying up too late watching movies, raiding the kitchen for midnight snacks, and gossiping until the early hours. But there was one part of Emily's life I never thought would change mine. Her dad, Daniel Carter, Mr. Carter, as I used to call him, was in his early 40s, tall with graying hair at the temples that only seemed to make him more distinguished. He wasn't the stereotypical strict dad either. He was warm, charming, and always treated Emily's friends with kindness, never with that distant parental disapproval many dads carried. He had this calm presence that made everyone around him feel safe and seen. At first, he was simply Emily's dad in my mind, nothing more. But as I got older, things began to shift in ways I couldn't ignore. Maybe it was the way his smile lingered a little longer when our eyes met, or how he always remembered small things about me, like how I preferred tea over coffee, or the fact that I loved sketching in my free time. One summer evening, Emily had gone on a short trip with her mom to visit relatives. She'd asked me to house-sit with her dad, mostly to keep him company, as she jokingly put it. I didn't think much of it at first. The Carter's house had always felt like a second home anyway. But that evening things felt different. Mr. Carter and I had dinner together. He grilled steaks on the back patio, and we talked while the crickets chirped in the yard. The air was warm and heavy, filled with the scent of barbecue smoke and cut grass. The conversation started casually, but slowly turned more personal. He asked about my classes, my dreams, my fears. He really listened. His attention focused entirely on me. I remember feeling nervous, like I had to be careful with every word. When I laughed at one of his stories, he looked at me in a way that made my chest tighten. It wasn't the look of a friend's father anymore. It was something deeper, something unspoken. I went to bed that night in the guest room, but I barely slept. My mind was restless, replaying every glance, every smile, every lingering silence between us. I told myself it was ridiculous. He was Emily's dad. Nothing could ever happen. But life doesn't always respect boundaries. Over the next few weeks, the connection between us grew stronger. Whenever I was at their house, I noticed him more. The way his hand brushed mine when we passed dishes at dinner, how he would sometimes hold my gaze just a second too long. And I noticed myself reacting. My pulse would quicken, my face would grow warm. I couldn't deny it anymore. I was falling for him. One afternoon, when Emily was out with friends, I stayed behind to help Mr. Carter with some chores around the house. We ended up sitting in the living room, talking like we had that night on the patio. The conversation grew quiet, and the air felt heavy again. I remember setting down my glass of water, my hands trembling. "I probably shouldn't say this," he said softly, "but I feel something between us." My heart stopped. I wanted to run, to deny it, to laugh it off. But instead I whispered, "I feel it too." That moment changed everything. We didn't cross any lines right away. Instead we carried this secret, an invisible thread pulling us closer each day. We found excuses to spend time together. Hidden moments that looked ordinary to anyone else but meant the world to us. A shared smile across the dinner table. A brief touch of his hand as he passed me something. A glance that lasted too long. But it was dangerous. Emily was my best friend. If she ever found out, it could destroy everything. That thought haunted me constantly, even as my feelings for him deepened. One evening, when Emily had gone upstairs early, Mr. Carter and I stayed in the kitchen. We were washing dishes, standing so close our arms brushed against each other. The silence was thick with all the words we couldn't say. Finally, he dried his hands and turned to me. "This can't go on," he whispered, though his eyes told a different story. I nodded, even though my heart screamed otherwise. "I know." But then, in that charged silence, we both gave in. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away, but I didn't. Our lips met in the quiet kitchen, soft and trembling, and for the first time we stopped pretending. From that night on, our secret affair truly began. It wasn't wild or reckless. It was tender, stolen moments filled with whispered words and quiet promises. Every second felt both thrilling and terrifying. We met when Emily was at work or out with friends, careful never to leave any trace. I told myself it was just a phase, something temporary, but the truth was I was in love with him, and he loved me too. He told me once, in a hushed voice, that I made him feel alive again after years of routine and responsibility. He said I reminded him that love could still surprise him. I confessed that I had never felt so understood by anyone before. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. One night, Emily nearly caught us. We were sitting on the back porch, closer than we should have been, when we heard her footsteps coming down the hall. We jumped apart just in time, but my heart pounded so hard I thought she could hear it. I realized then just how dangerous our love had become. I wrestled with guilt every day. Emily trusted me more than anyone. She told me her fears, her dreams, her frustrations. And all the while, I was hiding this from her. I hated myself for it, even as I couldn't let go of him. Eventually, we both knew it couldn't last. The risk of hurting Emily was too great. One night, Mr. Carter and I sat in the living room after everyone else had gone to bed. His hand held mine tightly, as if he was afraid to let go. "We can't keep doing this," he said, his voice breaking. "As much as I love you, it isn't fair to Emily. She doesn't deserve this." Tears filled my eyes. I didn't want to hear it, but deep down I knew he was right. "I don't want to lose you," I whispered. "You won't," he said softly. "But we can't stay in this secret anymore. You're young, and you deserve someone you can love openly, without hiding." It was the hardest goodbye of my life. Even after we ended things, the memory of our hidden affair lingered like a ghost. Every time I saw him, my heart ached, but we acted as if nothing had ever happened. To Emily, life was normal, and that was the way it had to be. She never knew the truth, and for her sake, she never will. But in quiet moments, I still think of him. Of the summer nights filled with stolen glances and whispered words. Of a love that was never meant to last, but one that will stay in my heart forever. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable love stories are the ones no one ever knows about.